Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to learn about Azure File Sync, or in short, we call AFS. And the pre-requirement to learn this lecture is you must have to complete the Azure File Share Services lecture in the previous lecture. Just go ahead and look into that Azure File Share lecture so that you know that the what exactly file share. Now we are talking about on top of it Azure File Sync concepts. With Azure File Sync, shares can be replicated on-premises or in Azure and can be accessed through SMB or NFS shares on Windows servers. So Azure File Sync is useful for the scenarios where we need the data that needs to be accessed or modified far away. Let's say from branch office to head office, the data is in a head office and you're trying to access from here to your direct within your on-premises network. So this can be fully eliminated, like we just talked about the branch office scenarios, and data may be replicated between multiple Windows Server endpoints, such as between multiple branch offices earlier within these scenarios. So that can be now fully eliminated, and all you can do is you can actually use the Azure File Sync in a multi-master sync solution, which is nothing but it makes our IT solutions an easy way to solve the global access problems that are introduced with having a single point of access on your on-premises. So earlier we used to try to communicate all these servers to be replicated with the DFS, all that, but when we have a look on AFS, so it actually replicates your data with the required servers automatically, and it will eliminate from one server to other server for the replication. So within Azure, you are actually using the replication data between Azure file shares and servers anywhere in the world. How this works is there's something concept called sync groups. So what happens with the sync group is it will help you to manage and manage your locations that you wanted to keep the data in sync with each other. Let's say you have a shared folder that must be synced with your head office headquarters server as well as your branch office server. So that way what needs to be done here is you need to actually create a sync group. So once you added the sync group, so the sync group will basically, what happens is it will have a one cloud endpoint as a one endpoint. So it's nothing but a group will have endpoints as well as the servers. So the servers will always sync from one endpoint, so directly. That's why the sync groups are very useful. This will actually eliminate a lot of manual problems, and also you can go for other advantages like centralized file server within the Azure storage, and you are getting the cache data in multiple locations for faster and local performance, and you are actually eliminating local backup and DR concepts with Azure File Sync concepts. And how this works is you need to actually install on your you need to take a on-premises server on your file server. Let's say you have a file server on headquarters, and you would be actually installing on your file server an agent which will sync with Azure File Sync. Agent will be there, so that agent will have these files. You see here file sync svc.exe. So this runs in the backend, in the background, which is responsible for monitoring changes which are happening on that share folder, and that files gets synced to Azure File Share. So technically you're actually creating here a Azure file share, and that share gets synced here. For doing that sync part, you are using a sync agent, and that agent will use some kind of PowerShell commands also. So to use those PowerShell commands, you need to have Azure RM, a resource provider, to be installed on your server, and then it can actually sync here to your endpoints or the groups, and then it can replicate it to the other branch offices also. So the users, from the user point of view, there will not be any change, but the data backup and disaster point of view, you have a great impact. Actually, you no need to take the backup, you no need to take the uh, restoration, for the disaster recovery concepts, because everything is taken care with the storage account. So if you just consider the storage account to be globally redundant anywhere, that would take care of everything here. So that way you are actually eliminating your file service, managing a complex scenarios. That being said, as an introduction, let me jump into the demo. Before we jump into the demo, what we are trying to do at the high level is I would be actually using, or I will be creating a share folder from the Azure File Share services, and then also we would be introducing Azure File Sync concept. We would be introducing that as a new service, and then within that we will be creating sync groups, and we'll also add the endpoints. So when I talk about the server endpoints, we need to actually host a server here in your on-premises. Think that that's your a server which consists of all your file shares as the replication should happen. So what we do is we would actually sync, I mean we do the registration with this file sync services here, and when we run that wizard, actually it's going to sync that file share to this on-premises network. And if I, let's say if I copy some files from my machine to this share folder, that gets automatically synced to Azure storage account, and that's nothing but the file share will contain all the files. So these files will be available. If at all, if I add another server as a sync group member, it will also contains the same files. So the sync would not happen over the locally, it is actually happening with the help of storage account. So that's a demo what we are trying to perform here. So let's jump into Azure portal and create the required services. Within this demo, we are going to follow a few of these steps. The first one is creating the storage account. So I'll give here a meaningful name like a Paddy demo. That's going to be my storage account name. And once the storage account is created by following this step, in fact we have created a couple of times the storage account within the previous lecture, so you can check out that specific lecture if you have not completed storage account specific information. You can check out that, but these are the steps that we normally take it to create the storage account. So this should not take more than 30 to 40 seconds time. And then within this in the previous lecture also we covered something called Azure File Shares by creating a file share folder and giving a quota of that shared folder size, let's say file sync demo share example, and with maybe a 10 GB of 10 GB of the quota, and within that share folder you can upload the files. This is what we learned in the previous lecture about uploading and connecting. Like you can use these commands for Windows, Linux, Mac machines to execute so that it's going to be mapped. So for now I'm just simply uploading single file, that's it. So now once we upload it, we have all the pre-requirements from the storage account point of view. Now as a next step, I will be working to create a something called file share services. That's a file sync services. So just search for Azure File Sync. So this is a service again offered by Microsoft. If you just have a look on this diagram, it says that it would be a central share folder, and whatever your on-premises servers are there, that shares will sync up to Azure share folder so that the users can access from anywhere, and you don't need to replicate in between these on-premises server share folders one location to another location, because you're actually syncing to Azure File share, which is again coming from a storage account, right? So that's how it's going to work. That's what we learned in the introduction lecture. So let's click on create. That's going to be created. And this is a simple wizard. I need to give my resource name here, and then a proper sync service name and the location where you have your storage account, because it's going to be tightly integrated with your storage account. So you need to strictly sync with the same region of that file sync as well as your storage account. So that service is fine. Let's click on tags and review and create. So this is going to be done, and if you remember, the resources are by default given as storage sync service. So in case if you are looking for any kind of automation, you can use that tag. So once this is created, you have here the options. The first one would be the sync group. So you have here sync group and register service. So what happens with the sync groups is, it's a group is nothing but once you create a group like a head office group example, within that group we can integrate our storage account, so that within the storage account, whatever you have the file shares, that will be part of your sync group. And later point, within this group we are going to add registered servers. So what we do is we will go and log into our on-premises file server and then register that server to this sync group. Then whatever the shared folders are there, that can be uploaded to your sync group, because sync group contains logically your shared folders. That's a file share folder from storage account, and whatever the files are available on a shared folder, that also gets replicated to your on-premises server. That's how it's going to work. So let's do that configuration one by one. From sync groups, I'm going to create a new sync group. So by clicking on a sync group, I'll give here maybe HO for a specific location. Let's say HO for my US location. So I can give as HO hyphen maybe here give as USA, and then select your subscription here and make sure that you have to select the proper storage account. As I said earlier, whatever the file sync specific group is created in the same region, you should be having the storage account. Since it is East US location, I'm able to browse my storage account, and now it is asking me to show and associate my file share. So in my case, I have only one file share, so it is actually retrieving in the backend. So you see here, it just got retrieved that file share, and select and click on create. So now what happened is we have actually integrated within a storage account with a file share to a group called HOUSA. So if I just wait for a few more minutes, and if I go to this group, I should be able to see that specific groups. And we have not yet created any we have not yet registered any service. That's why here there's no endpoints. So once we log into our file server and registered, I should be able to look at here as the server endpoints. For now, the cloud endpoint is this. So what does it means is, there are two things. One is your from on-premises endpoint, other one is a cloud endpoint. So whatever it is there between these two, we are making a sync so that the data gets replicated from here to there to here. That's the plan. So let's complete the other part of configuration at the server endpoints. So once we have done that, we will get the syncing all that information. But if I just click on here register server, there will not be any list of servers because we didn't install anything as the endpoint service. So for that, what I have to do is I have to log into my file server, then I need to download an agent which is used for the syncing purpose. And then that is, if you see here, this is one which I have to install the file sync agent, and then once I install, I have to register with the sync group. So that takes some time. So for doing that, I need to go to a machine which I have in my on-premises network. So this is my on-premises network. If you see here, I have 2 drives. But before doing anything, I need to disable the IE enhanced security, because I'm gonna run some kind of PowerShell script and all that. So it's gonna prevent me. So I'm gonna do that as a temporary, not as a permanent. So if I just open my PowerShell, so to install and configure the file sync agent, I need to have on my machine, on my file server, Azure RM module file should be there, because at the end it's going to use the backend as the Azure RM execution files. So what I will be doing is I will be installing a module called install-module with a command called install-module name as Azure. So that's going to take Azure RM. So that will take a minute. So since it's a PowerShell gallery, it's coming, so I need to trust and say yes. So that's gonna install. So this is article which I'm gonna attach to this lecture. So this article talks about how to do it step by step. So we have already done now Azure RM, which we have already. So we are actually downloading the agent here by following. Otherwise, you can use this simple PowerShell script so that it actually downloads this MSI, and it gets even installation also silently. And either way, but we can follow manually by doing the simple download from the download center. So I'll just open that URL and downloading, and I'll paste it here so that it gets download. So this is a fast forward. It's a very simple installation, straightforward. So very simple checkboxes, default. Once it gets installed, let me close all these because it's not needed anymore. So from here on, it says that, hey, are you up to date with the Azure File Sync? Yes, I do. And then it's going to say that, hey, you must have to sign into Azure subscription so that I can pull my file services and the sync group, right? So I need to choose here as a private or public cloud. So in my case, it's a public cloud, not the government. So I'll use the public cloud and click on sign in. So this would come up with my sign-in credentials. It's going to prompt, so I'm going to fast forward here also quickly to sign in, and from here I need to select my subscription and then my resource group, proper resource group here, and this is a resource group where you have your Azure File Sync services are configured, and then the service with specific to storage sync service, which is in this case, this is the one which we created, and click on registered. So what would happen is this server goes to that specific sync specific, this is the one, right? So storage sync service, and then it's gonna register there. So that's what the idea here. And also if you look at my share folder here, so this is a folder which is going to come up in a minute. So here, this is the sync name what we have given, so demo file sync. That's why it was showing the same thing. And this is my sync group. So you might have multiple sync groups also. For now, there are no registered servers. So in a minute, I'm going to get the registered servers also. So click on register. This might take a minute or so, or in the backend actually it runs the PowerShell scripts to register internally. And once a registration is success, it actually gives the a report, detailed report with the networking connectivity. In case if it is not open the ports for connectivity, you're gonna get the errors. And also you can check the log for Azure resource specific URL. And then just close this. We don't need anything else. And if I just go back to my sync services here, and within this I need to actually add now as the server from my on-premises as an endpoint. Now we earlier actually configured as the shared folders from Azure storage account. Now it's time for us to add from on-premises file server. So in this case, I'm going to click on add endpoint, and now it is showing my registered server earlier, and this is where the path has to be given. So why the path is needed is, so let's say if this is F drive, so whatever the shared files were there, that will be coming back here automatically downloaded with the help of sync. So that's the idea. So I'll give as F drive with fs as a name. You can give any name, and that's where it's going to create a folder. Now the interesting part is cloud tiering. So cloud tiering transforms your server endpoint into a cache server for your files in Azure file share. So if you're using file share services, if you want to use as a cache, you can enable this option. And in our case, I'm not actually enabling this. And coming back to other options that we have within this, like here the offline data transfer. Let's say you have a huge data and you wanted to send with the data box, Azure data box. So Microsoft will send Azure data box with the secure data devices, and then you can copy it there, and then you can ship it so that Microsoft people will connect to their data center, and you can simply copy paste. So it would be quite faster than instead of depending on over the internet. So that's offline. So just click on OK, and now in a minute or so it's actually going to add here one more server from the endpoint. So it's still in a provisioning state. If I just log in to this server, since it is in provisioning, it was not yet created. Just now it got created FS folder, and if you see here, there were no files got transferred because it is still in a pending. So it might take actually to show you, but in the meantime I can copy some files from my desktop to file server. So you see here it's got replicated now with the file which was we copied to our file services, and also I'm actually copying some files to this shape folder. So these files also will be replicated to my on-premises, from on-premises to the cloud file share. Here you see here this got automatically replicated. So this is how it's going to work in the backend. So you can eliminate your complete on-premises file service and their backup and disaster recovery planning and complex internal syncing concepts from one branch office to another branch office, all these file servers files. So instead you can actually go for a single storage account where you have all these files can be placed, and you can easily manage from centrally. And let me upload some more files. If I really wanted that files also, it's going to actually upload it back to my share. There's a file share as well as to my on-premises network. So that's how it's going to work. I hope this entire lecture is useful. Last but not least, let's monitor how the things will work in the backend. So let's jump into the monitoring point for our file sync services. So let me open Azure File Sync. That's nothing but a storage sync here. So just open storage sync services, and it's taking some time. Yeah, so from here, demo file sync, you see here, if I just select the register servers, I'm able to see here one server now. I can check the health of this server and their performance, how it is, looks good or bad, all that. And also sync groups also will tells about how many servers are at what kind of a bottleneck, and the bandwidth, all that configuration information also you can find out. And now if you see here, it's fully healthy and the syncing, download and up. So all these possible metrics data is available with us. I hope this entire lecture is useful for you. Thank you for watching this. We'll catch you in the next lecture.